This is KAKU 88.5 FM. I'm Mary Margaret Baker, the nurse practitioner of the Nurse Practitioner Show. And with me, I have Thomas Harding, who is a neuropsychologist who has just opened a clinic here in Maui called the Memory Clinic. AARP recommends and does a lot of training and educating about is scams. So people, seniors, I think people who are having some memory issues are highly susceptible to these scams.
And robocalls are calling all the time.
Oh,
aren't you tired of them yet?
I'm so tired. If I pick something and say hello and there's not immediate response, I just hang up.
Yes.
That's it.
I mean, we're becoming conditioned not to even answer the phone unless it's somebody we know. And so you think you take a senior, so you take yourself first, and you know, okay, just hang up. But a senior doesn't have that. That's dementing. Doesn't have that. And they can get them on the phone, and they can get a credit card number out of them so fast. Or they'll come to the door and go, "You've got a leak in your roof. You give me some money or your credit card, I'll go down to Lowe's, I'll pick up some building supplies, and I'll come right back."
Never seen again.
And so seniors are very susceptible to financial fraud. And one of the things we do is financial capacity testing. So if you want to think of it in terms of high risk or low risk or moderate risk, we can tell you, is your parent at low risk? Are they still good to go? Or are they at high risk? You need to take away those credit cards and change that phone number. We can tell you that.
I think that's really critical in these. There's more and more coming out about Facebook and people wanting to be friends, and they're really not the person who the picture of.
No,
I mean, it's every which way to Sunday you're going to get screwed and scammed.
The financial fraud is big. In fact, one of the ones that's going on right now is somebody will call, and it sounds like a grandkid, and they're going, they're saying, "We've kidnapped your grandkid. You have to pay us, or else we're going to hurt your grandchild." Well, so they're playing on their emotions and their fear, and of course, they're looking for some money to give these people. So, if you are wondering if they're making large donations that shouldn't be made, you should bring them in. Absolutely, because they've worked hard all their life, and they're going to need that money, especially if they end up becoming demented, because it costs a lot of money
for caregivers.
And they need that money more than that rip-off artist on the other side of that line.
Exactly. It just makes me mad.
Yeah, it just shows you the underbelly of our society. It really does. So
many families, especially I think here in Hawaii, where people really want to take care of their family members.
Yes.
And it can lead, as one book, The 36-Hour Day.
Oh, yes.
We've heard of that one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for caregivers of family members with Alzheimer's. And so it's one of those things, you get burned out, you get exhausted.
Yep.
And how do you cope with that?
So caregiver stress and depression is the fastest rising type of depression in our country today, because nobody is prepared for this. So, you realize, you find out that your mom or your dad have Alzheimer's, and what does that mean? You have no clue what you're getting into. And a lot of people do not have the money to put them into a care home, $10,000, $12,000 a month. This is not easy. So they'll have to try to do this themselves. So caregiving burden, and this is why people get stressed and depressed. If it's mild stage dementia, well, that's only going to take about 15 hours of your life a week. Okay, that's not so bad. But as it progresses, when it gets to moderate stages of dementia, we're talking about 44 hours a week. That's on top of your full-time job if you're still trying to work that job. And so that's another full-time job. When you come home, you just go right back to, there is no break for you.
But here's the key. It happens when you're needed is probably during the day. And so you're taking time from your job to deal with the issues.
Yes.
I just, as a matter of fact, yesterday talked to a friend of mine, and she had just moved from California to Alabama. And her mother calls her about, she has to do everything for her mother because her mother will not tolerate anybody else doing anything.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking,
that's common.
Okay, what are you going to do about that? She goes, I don't know, but I'm getting really exhausted dealing with it. And I think that's what happens to families. They lose their patients.
And they come in, I see them for follow-up, and they come in with black circles under their eyes. I mean, these people need respite services. And here in Maui, if you call the Maui Office on Aging, they'll come out and see if you qualify for some respite services. So you want to get tapped into your community and find out what's available to me. I don't have to do this by myself. Over at our clinic, we have a therapist that you can sit down and talk, and you can just regurgitate everything that's bothering you to get it off your chest. That helps too.
That really helps.
Yes.
And I know there's the Maui, the center. There's different centers. There's now like 5 or 6 across the island where children can bring their parent.
Adult daycare.
Adult day health care. Or
Yeah.
there used to be, there's adult day health and adult daycare. This is adult daycare. They don't have the health component.
Yes. And those are, again, like you said, they do have several of those here in Maui. So people who are having to work still, because this is Hawaii, it's expensive, and you didn't plan for one of your loved ones to have dementia. So
And they didn't plan on it.
no. So, you just have to work it into your schedule, which is why you want to catch it early so that you can spend 15 hours versus 44. But I didn't get to severe. As it progresses, if this person can no longer shave themselves, you're talking about 70 hours a week. And
How
so
can you work?
people,
How can you work with that?
people have to quit their jobs. It's not easy. My wife and I, we did that for about 2.5 years. We stopped working and took care of loved ones. And it's something that you can't prepare for. It's just tough.
It's a really tough, it is a tough thing. Yeah. And I remember there used to be all these articles on the sandwich generation. Not only are people taking care of their parents, the middle age, you're maybe 60 and your parents are 80 or 90 and you're taking care of them, but then you have your grandchildren who are, you have a child that has drug problems.
A lot of grandparents raising grandchildren.
Grandparents raising grandchildren, and then that's a sandwich. You're squeezed in the middle, and you're trying to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's an endless job.
There's a lot of stress out there, folks, and you want to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're going to be no good to anybody. So if you're feeling stressed and depressed, you need to call us. Just reach out, and you don't try to do it yourself. We'll find some right resources for you.
Yeah, adult daycare I remember they told me once that they did once a month, they do an evening. So you can have you have a parent or a family member living with you with a problem that it needs a caregiver, then you can bring them to adult daycare in the evening, one evening, or used to be just one evening a month. So you and your husband could go out to dinner, could see a movie or whatever.
And they'll even come to your house if you can hire respite care.
And also that's a whole other, I used to own a home health agency with private care and Medicare services and so on and so forth. So but that does get expensive.
Yeah. Well, here's another great idea. If you're a member of a church, a lot of the churches are graying right now. And if there's younger people at that church, maybe your church can talk about starting up a group where the young folks help the seniors, and they'll come in and do the babies, the sitting while you go out for respite services. I mean, we just have to start thinking out of the box. And I know quite a few churches are starting to do such things.
Yes. And think it takes a village.
It does take a village.
It's like to help with your children, to help with your parents, to preserve the integrity of your mental status, basically.
Yes.
It's really important.
Maui is very community oriented. And so, reach out to your community and go, this is what's going on with me. Does anybody know what I can do or where I can go? There's a good chance that somebody can point you in the right direction to start your path down, especially if you're trying to do caregiver for a demented patient or loved one. You need to go ahead and reach out, because you will burn out. It's 6 times the risk. I wasn't going to say it, but your risk of dementia later in life is 6 times as high as anyone else's because of the stress that
the stress and the overburdening of it.
It does, and it wreaks havoc on your brain. Stress does. In fact, in my book, I have a chapter called Public Enemy Number 1. It's stress. And
I can underline that in red and say, yes, that's a really big problem. So if you're feeling burned out, there are resources to help you. County Council on Aging, the Department of Aging, they have a lot of resources. You may qualify for the subsidized services, and you may have to pay for it. But at least you need to reach out and try to get some help. The other thing, this was something I thought was interesting. I'm on a neighborhood, one of those neighborhood emails things for a neighborhood. And what they were doing, I thought they were doing a banking of services. So in other words, if you need a plumber and you put out in the line online, I need a plumber and I'm part of the same group. It's they have potlucks like once or twice a month. This is in the mainland. And so then the plumber comes in and banks with you 3 hours to change your insides of your toilet, or 2 hours, or whatever it is. Okay. Then it's not that you're going to owe them, but you owe somebody else some help. So in other words, then another person says, well, I have to go to the doctor's. I need childcare for 2 hours. And so it's an exchange,
like a pay it forward, almost like a barter system, but not with that individual, but with a group of people.
With a group of people making the commitment.
That's a great idea.
To contribute to the betterment of the group. Yeah. Now, you do some seminars. You're available to do seminars.
Oh, yeah. I do quite a few seminars. Over on Oahu, I've done hundreds of these seminars. I do them at churches, libraries, conferences, organizations. I just went over to the Kiwanis Club over at Tante's last week, Thursday. Small group of people, and just talk about, I teach them some brain games. I teach them about risk factors and how to prevent dementia. If I could get in front of a group of people and save a few brains in that group, instead of having them come to my office and tell them you have early stage dementia, I would rather go to that group. It's a lot more fun to talk to people and teach them about risk factors and stimulation games. That's a lot more fun than sitting there giving bad news.
Giving bad news,
yes.
Yeah. Now, is there anything else? Well, okay. So where would someone get a hold of you if they want you to speak? Like there's Rotary clubs. There's 7 or 8 Rotary clubs here in Maui. I think that would be a wonderful place for you to bring your information and availability.
Sure. So if you call Maui Memory Clinic, is area code 808-244-1007. And just let us know that you're interested in having us come and do a seminar. You certainly you can leave a voicemail, or you can talk with the office manager, and we'll get you on the schedule. Or you can go to the Be Dementia Free website and click on and say, yes, I want to do a dementia seminar, and we will contact you. So the seminars are pretty much free. We don't charge to come out to talk to you folks. I do bring some books in case somebody wants them, but what we're trying to do is get the word out there.
Education is power.
Absolutely.
That's one of the tenets of this show.
Yeah.
To educate and share resources in the community, because oftentimes you just don't know about it until you have the need, and then you don't even know where to go with it.
And that's why we're sitting here today, folks. We're sitting here to let you know that there's information out there. There's a place you can come to get help.
Well, thank you so much. We're kind of at the end of our show. It goes by like zip.
It does. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad you could join me today. It's such a pleasure, since we don't know some people in common.
Yes.
And had high recommendations for you being here and joining the Maui community. I recommend you tuning in next Monday, 2 to 3 at KAKU 88.5 FM. You're listening to Mary Margaret Baker and the Nurse Practitioner Show.
Aloha, Maui.